Hey, all right, friends, we are back for another episode of the Evolving Adventurer podcast. And I got my cool shirt on. You got your cool shirt on. Hello, Corinne Shalvoy, founder of Women Can.
Hello. Hello, Greg. Greggy, what do you prefer?
To me, I'm indifferent. Grady's a nickname that was given to me by a French Canadian coworker several
Okay.
years ago, and she would sing it when I came down to work, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, I am totally indifferent. I don't care how you spell it. I don't care anything. Like, doesn't matter to me. So yeah,
Like
whatever works for you. But also, I realize it changes. So, but no, thank you very much for coming on to chat today. Coming off of a very exciting Cocodona on the live stream.
Yes. It was fun. Yeah, Cocodona is always that race gets crazier every year. But it is I think it's the fourth time I've commentated it, and yeah, it was one for the books again, and very much one that embodied women can in many ways.
Yeah, big congratulations to Rachel.
Yes, huge.
Yeah.
And all three of the three women going under the previous course record. I don't know. It's just like something's going on with the ladies right now, but I'm here for it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. This is fantastic to see. And what was your impetus to start? The reason I'm wearing your t-shirt right now.
Well, thank you for wearing the shirt. Like, I really appreciate you doing it. And you really just organically were like, I love this, so I want to wear it. And I gave you that one.
Yeah, off your back at Black Canyon.
Well, just for everyone's, I wasn't wearing it. I had washed it, and it was, but it wasn't brand new. It was one my my crew had worn at Javelina, but now you're gonna get your very own brand new one here soon.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the impetus for starting Women Can, I think it was kind of multifaceted. I was at a point in my life and career where I decided to take a pretty hard pivot out of corporate America and really started thinking a lot about how I was spending my time and where my energy and time was going. And I don't know, I think maybe it kind of also in a little bit of a way, coincided with turning 40. I'm 44 now, but who knows, midlife stuff. You just start to think about where you're spending your time a little bit more. Also, ironically enough, I was going through a situation with a company that I had built their culture. I literally had helped build their core values. I was in talent acquisition for them. The culture work that I was doing with them, the employee engagement was amazing. It was going really great. And then that culture changed, largely in part due to who kind of started not, I don't know. I just felt like things that I had put in place were not actually being embodied in the company. And I decided that it was just not an environment that I wanted to be part of anymore, especially when my work was to uphold that culture and to live it and for it to be what our employees were supposed to be kind of experiencing. And so I decided to leave and didn't really know what I was going to do. My husband was very supportive, and yes, Women Can is about females, but just like you, Greg, male advocates for women is just as big and just as important. And so I was luckily in a situation where I was able to leave that salary, leave that environment, and say, I just need some space to figure out what I'm going to do next, where I'm going to go, and for a good 6 months, I didn't do a whole lot of planning out, where is my income going to come from? I just said, I'm going to spend time with my kids who were home from school, because I never did the stay-at-home mom thing. I always kind of needed to work and wanted to work. So they were a little older, and so I did fun stuff with them. And then I really started leaning into running and whatever I could do with, this community that I had grown to be super passionate about and be really involved with over the last number of years, and had become a big part of my life. I mean, it's my community and my friendship group here in Castle Rock. It's, my daily activity. It's my second chapter of being an athlete myself, competitive athlete, and I love the community and the people in it. So did a lot of volunteering, did a lot of going to races, pacing friends, coaching athletes and friends, and kind of just signing up for things that I wasn't able to do when I was tied to a full-time, you know, high level corporate position. So all that to say that like probably 8 or 10 months into that, I was like, I think I was going to be going back to Cocodona to do live stream work. And before that, I was like, I had this shirt in my closet that it said women can do anything on it. And I had bought it probably years before that at like I don't know, it was like a Nordstrom designer shirt, but I kind of like kept noticing it and looking at it. And I mean, I wore it some, but I didn't wear it a ton, but it was more of just paying attention to the message that was on it. And I was like, in a way, I feel like a complete failure because I just walked away from a very, high paying senior level position. And I feel like I quit on it and I feel like failure. And then, my husband on the other side was saying, this is like the most courageous thing you've ever done, which I needed to hear. And but it was really hard for me to like think about it that way because I'm kind of this just like, overachiever, want to do well. I'd always grown up like that. And so this felt like a failure in many ways. And I think that having that shirt kind of reminded me that um, you do, even if you feel like you're stuck on a hamster wheel of, you know, needing to stay in a job or whatever it is, like you do have control over your own effort, energy, where you put your time. Yes, there might be sacrifices that have to come out of choices you make, but at the end of the day, like it is your time, it is your energy, and you can change where you're spending it, if you want to, and you can figure out how to make that work. And so I was like, I don't think I need the women can do anything. I think it's just women can with a period. And I'm gonna just make my own shirt and I'm gonna create a logo. And it's gonna be a distressed logo because this is something that has been happening for many, many decades. And yet it's something that kind of doesn't get spoken enough or seen enough or celebrated enough. And so that's where it came from. And then I wore the shirt on the Cocodona live stream and people asked if they could get one as well. And it started to turn into a little business. And I was like, absolutely, I want every woman to feel like this and to have this as a reminder. And so then it's grown and evolved into really kind of like a movement online. We're celebrating like women from all walks of life. We're doing a Substack now. We have different merchandise. I've got a couple people writing for me. And yeah, it's grown into something that I don't know, I'm really proud of and I really am happy to see exist.
Yeah, and it's cool to see how many of the shirts are out there before the big pre-order your stuff from last week. Just like how many people I've seen wearing it, and I'm curious your experience like wearing it because the it's really changed what it's like for me to be at an event or at a race to have this shirt on for people see it, whether it's overtly acknowledged or like, hey, recognize and you do your thing. Like I have noticed a change in a lot of the interactions from like, I'm just a guy at an aid station and, do you need water? Do you need this? Do you need this? Where's your drop bag? There definitely is a shift I've been aware of since having it and wearing it. Then the number of women that come up and high five on out and backs or something like that. It's been really cool. So again, thank you for having it and doing it. But how have you seen things shift since you first started it?
Yeah, it's super fascinating to see the responses and the reactions. Sometimes it's, majority of the time it's positive. And I'm curious that, you're a man wearing it. And so sometimes I feel like that might elicit a different response than me wearing it, and then me wearing it as the person who created it, I feel a little bit differently about that than maybe somebody who bought it from me, a woman who's wearing it, who's kind of like, yeah, this is like it. Because I also feel like when I'm wearing it, like, is it a little bit too self-promotion-y? But people don't know that I created it for the most part. And so, a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, I like your shirt," I'm like, "Oh, thank you. It's my brand." Like, and so I do want to tell them, like I made this, but for the most part, is positive, and I get a lot of, you know, hell yeah, or I totally agree, or yes, we can, or subtle, like just, that's amazing. Like those kinds of things. I've gotten a couple of like, I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that stands for. And then I walked into a store the other day, and this guy it was a man who was like greeting everyone coming into the store, and he looked at my shirt and he goes, "Women can." And then he goes, "I agree with that." And I was like, "Great. Thank you." As you should. So sometimes people are like, it almost seems to make them question their own beliefs. I had a woman who told me that her daughter asked her, what does it mean, Mom? What does your shirt mean?" And she had to go into telling a whole story about, like, well, it became an instructional educational lesson to her daughter in, this and that. And like, I've had people say that their kids have said, "Well, I don't know if everyone would agree with that, Mom," like, or dad. And so I think maybe those conversations that it creates and elicits are part of the whole purpose and the point. I think that I've had a lot of women kind of tell me that, like, they wear it and they get a lot of positive response from other people about it, and they, get a lot of encouragement. I mean, there's a couple of it elicits a lot of emotion. I remember, Javelina. I was racing it, and it was the first year after I had created the brand, and, it is still very small, but I was coming around 2nd or 3rd lap, and I came up on the berm, and there was a girl up there wearing it, and it, like, made me cry when I saw her, because I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. Like, you're wearing the shirt I created, and she's cheering for me running this race, doing this hard thing." And she was out there running her own race the next day, like, and I every time something like that happens, it's like, that's why you do it. That's why you keep doing it. It doesn't matter if you sell one thing. Inspiring somebody or enabling or empowering them is what it's all about. I also was running an FKT like 3 years ago on this thing called the Rampart Range Road nearby us, which is like 58 miles. And I was wearing the tank, and like halfway through that, a car went by and somebody like leaned out of the car and like cheered and was like, Your shirt is amazing," or something like that. And it's like, it just gave me this massive boost of energy. And I had this like just sense of, I don't know, just, yeah. It I think it is kind of an emotional thing. And I don't know, all those reasons are just reasons that keep me continuing to do it, and it's awesome.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. It's been really cool to watch it and watch it grow, especially see those little infographics come out of like meet so and so, meet so and so. And I'm like, oh, she was on the podcast. She was in, wow, this is, it's growing fast
Yeah,
and it's catching on and it's coming at such a great time to like all of the thing like Tara Dower with the Appalachian Trail and Rachel Entrican at Cocodona. Like there's so many things women are doing that are helping to flip a lot of the old, we'll call them perceptions of things, but also like get more engagement out and have more women come to the start line or go and try something or do something. Like it, for me, it's really cool just to see what's happened in that little bit of time with 2 words on a period on a shirt. And
yeah.
and here you go. What is it? Did you have an overarching vision or anything when starting it? Or has that shifted as you've, started to see things grow?
Yeah, I think has changed a little bit of it, really becoming, like I was saying, kind of more of a community, more of a, like, movement, so to speak. I think there's a lot that we can do in the future with, you know, whether it's events or bringing, making things like getting together in person kind of stuff. I don't know at the beginning that I necessarily thought about telling the stories of a lot of these women, in long form. And then also, like you mentioned, the infographics, like my goal is to get as many women as we can up on that page. Like if there's a woman listening to this that wants to be featured, please reach out to me because I don't care if you are a runner. I don't care if you have, if you're younger, older, the point of the whole thing is that whatever it is you are passionate about, you should be able to like pursue that with full force and with full support behind you. And it is very much something that is much broader and bigger than, you know, naturally my whole community is running and a lot of the people I know are runners. Um, and I would love to see more women at the start line of races and getting into running. But you're equally as amazing, if you are super passionate about being a stay-at-home mom or getting to, working in a field that's primarily been male dominated in the past. Or, we wrote an article about a woman who's in the Israeli military. You know, it doesn't have to, and it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing either, right? Like, the point is, like, I am here. I can be, celebrated for what I am and and whatever it is that makes me happy. It might be staying home with my kids. It might be raising my child. It might be making amazing candles in my off time. It might be like whatever it is, it's just that you kind of deserve to be uplifted for it. So I'd love to share any and everyone's stories and don't think that you are not like worthy. That's like the antithesis of what I'm trying to do here is everybody has a place. Everybody should be lifting one another up. And through that, right, we're all going to be better because of it. As a mom, somebody that's gone through having a couple kids and dealt with postpartum depression and things like that, like we need each other. We need the men who are advocating for us, but we need each other to be the best versions of ourselves. So that's what it's all.
Yeah, that's great. And definitely like women, my personal experience, women are much better at supporting each other and being there for each other than men are.
Mm.
Good. I have a small sample size of me, but just seeing friends, the run community, it's like, hey, women are like community, community, community. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll, I'll do my thing. But like, it's really cool to see all of the different ways that women are doing amazing things nowadays, whether it is anything that you mentioned. How is your outreach or like, are there future plans to have like women's only races or, meetup group kind of things? You're in Castle Rock. There's a whole wide world out there.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I think that I want to, much like, my husband and I started our run club here and it's about 10 years old now and it very slowly but organically grew. And I think that that's the best way for something like this to go is to let it become what it's going to become. And to listen to the people that are in it as to what they want. So I think that is going to be kind of what steers the ship and drives it. I'd love to start getting involved maybe with some of the already existing women's only races, and being like a partner to them or something like that. Cause those things are already in existence. I don't know that I have the bandwidth at the moment to create a race myself, but that might be something in the future. We've done some collaborations with like women in ultra running where we've gotten together with them and they're awesome and their Colorado chapter is great. So would love to do more in collaboration with you know, other groups that are kind of have similar values and missions. I started it as a clothing company because I as a little kid, and I mean today still I've always loved fashion and I love clothes. I love shopping. And so, eventually I'd like to have an entire line that is always in stock that I always have inventory of. And so kind of figuring out what that looks like, down the road. But the artist series that we do is something I definitely want to continue because to me, there's like a lot of different ways you can interpret this message visually. And I grew up with an older brother and sister who are both artists. I dabble a little bit, but I am not an artist myself. And so it's awesome to see, like, to tell someone, this female artist, go show me what your visual interpretation is of women can. And the things that we've gotten back are like beautiful and so different from one another aesthetically, but the stories behind them, and I'd encourage, like, we're writing articles about all of the artists on the Substack, but I have those designs. We've done like 3 or 4 to date, but the descriptions about, like, what inspired those women and why they ended up coming up with what they did, um, are really, really powerful. I mean, the Brie, is maybe one of the most poignant of those. It's almost a slightly religious looking, very colorful, drawing, and it is a woman naked running through a canyon, and her hair turns into the water below her because women give life to everything that they like. And as she has a mastectomy scar, and so, like, the whole description behind the actual piece of art is, it's like breathtaking. So those kinds of things I absolutely want to continue doing, and then we'll potentially bring back some of those artist designs, like, for limited editions as the brand continues to grow, because I'd love to give back to the artists who created those.
Yeah. Wonderful. And how is it taken shape for like increasing engagement specifically for like running or events that are out there? Because there I don't know the stat. I've seen all kinds of things of, maybe 10% of certain generally like the harder mountain races with more vert are lower. Some of the other ones are higher. Some look at like, holy cow, it's mostly women at this race. But yeah, like what strategy or thoughts do you have on getting more women to come out and participate?
Yeah. I think I saw something recently, and it may have been from Runner Magazine, RUNHER magazine, that there was, like, currently, like, 60% of all people running are women. Like, it was, like, more than 50%. So I think in general, like, all of this stuff, that is going on is contributing to women participating. And then we just need to keep putting into place things, around the lotteries, around the percentage of people, like Hard Rock is doing, to kind of boost those overall percentages of participants in the field. And then I think, I worked for a long time in, recruiting and talent acquisition in tech, and same thing. There's not very many women in those, right, historically in the fields, in those talent pools. So you have to start with the very beginning of getting people involved and participating, just like you have to start with getting more females into STEM programs in school, because that pipeline needs to be bigger from the get go. So just getting people out, just getting more women out running, and then getting them to a place where they feel comfortable and confident signing up for a race, whatever that will be, is then eventually going to drive the amount of participants, therefore then the amount of competitors and the amount of people, then we start ending up having competitive women in the top, you know, podiums of some of these races. So I think it all stems from them also just not falling off. I mean, that goes all the way back to, middle school, high school, college, of us keeping them in an environment where they feel like they're succeeding, and we keep women and girls healthy and wanting to continue doing the sport.
Awesome. And what was your personal journey like through those really transitional times? Middle school, puberty, going through that, like being active, being engaged, like supported or not? Because I see there's a big theme there with a few other women who'll be on future episodes talking about the importance of this time, body image, weight. I mean, there's all the crazy eating disorder stuff all over. How did it take shape, and what could you offer to somebody who's out there thinking about, hey, I've got a daughter who's 2 years old. I want her to be healthy. I want her to see you as a role model. How do you keep supporting the future coming through?
Yeah. Um, Couple things on that. So I started running. I grew up in Southwest Colorado in a tiny little mountain town called Ouray. It's like 1,000 person town, 26 people in my graduating class in high school. Half of them I felt like were brother and sisters because I had known them since they were in kindergarten. Um, and I was the scrawny, skinny little girl who did not develop at all, like super late bloomer, like, didn't get my period till I was, like, 16 years old, didn't really grow, like, height-wise or, like, develop go through puberty until, like, way later in life, and so I was pretty awkward in middle school and high school and very behind in terms of kind of, like, physical maturity, which was hard, like, being in a locker room with the other girls and you're like, "I don't really need a sports bra, but I guess I'll wear one," you know? And, like, I'm, super skinny, can't put on any weight, like, it's not and then just not being really because I was really into sports, I was not really viewed as, somebody that any of the guys wanted to hang out with or date. So, I didn't date. Like, I was, like, the sport I did 4 different sports, basketball, volleyball, cross country, track, played in the band, did got good grades, but I was not like, you know, hanging out with the boys or hanging out with the guys. I was kind of, yeah, more into the other stuff. Not that I didn't, want to be, but and was kind of bullied in school too. Had some tough years of, like, getting picked on a lot, pretty sensitive kid, and I did have running, I mean, and I started, thanks to my dad encouraging me to get to do track in middle school, he's like, "This runs in our family." Like, my uncle held the Pikes Peak Marathon record for 5 years in the '70s, and he won Hard Rock 100 when he was 50 years old, like, you know, he's like, "This is," and my dad was always running with him, and we grew up in the mountains. We were always hiking and, running around in the mountains. He's like, "You probably have some good genetics for this if you wanna try it." So, I ran track in middle school, had some pretty good early success with it, and then I did track and cross country in high school and basketball and volleyball, and team sports I absolutely loved. Like, basketball was my sport. Like, if that was what I wanted to be the best at. I wasn't the best at it. We did good for a small school, but, like, I still love that sport. The running I was pretty good at, and I got better and better, and, I mean, my times now would not hold a candle to what they're running in high school, it's insane. But, I went to state every year, I ended up getting 2nd in the state in the 800 meters one year. Junior year of high school, I almost quit sport because the pressure really started to get to me, and I don't think that I was, like, emotionally ready to handle it. I started feeling like I was running, out of obligation and not for myself and for the joy of doing it, and I really had to go through that whole relearn to love it and why are you doing it, cycle, and had some conversations, hard conversations, like, with my dad too, like, "Am I doing this for you? Am I doing this for me?" He was my coach, and I had a coach as well, but he was my 2nd coach, um, and he was always 100% encouraging of me, but he also, like, knew the potential I had, and I don't think that, like, my maturity level in dealing with things was at the same on par with kinda, like, what he thought I was capable of. "Why are you always getting 2nd in these races when I know you can win it?" Because it is a skill to know how to win a race. And so anyways, I had this crux with the sport my junior year, and I took a step back, and I decided I really did love it. I really did wanna keep doing it, and then there were some schools that were actually kinda trying to recruit me, Western States and Adams State, which are both really good schools in Colorado for running, and I went and I talked to the coaches there, and one of them, I can't remember which one, but one of them, the coach there told my dad, "We take this very seriously, and our athletes run through stress fractures." And my dad was like, "My child's not going to school here. Like, that's not happening. That's like, no. Hard stop. no, we're not getting into that environment. And so we had a lot of discussions about it. And I decided I would go to the University of Denver and I would run for them, but I would focus more on my education than my sport. Right. So I chose to do that. And that was probably a pretty pivotal decision because I do think that maybe my relationship with the sport would be different if I had run all 4 years at a highly competitive school. Um, Instead, I got to just run kind of for fun in a pretty casual program, with Trond and Knut Neistad as coaches who were not runners, but Norwegian cross country ski coaches who were just keeping their athletes healthy in the off season and giving them some cross training and other stuff to do. They were incredible ski coaches, but it was great because I kept in touch with the sport and I stayed active with it, but it wasn't a super high pressure situation. So did that through college and then came out of it just still loving running in general. But then I met my husband and we decided to train for a marathon together and we did that together and then he kind of got me into the trail and mountain running and then I had a couple kids and then I ended up getting a coach and just diving headfirst into trail and ultra running from there on out. So I feel really lucky that I've had such a long relationship with the sport and it's gone in and out and there's been times when I've been more and less serious about it, but I would say to a lot of those moms or the parents out there with young girls, like, just help them keep in mind why they're doing it. And if they don't love it, and if they're starting to not like it for whatever reason, give them the space and time to step back from it and figure out whether they do or not. Because, you know, it's it's something you can do your entire life. And there's not many sports that are like that. And so I'm not even pushing my kids who are 11 and 14 into running. If they want to run, fine. If they don't, fine. But learn how to be an athlete, get outside, get in the mountains, enjoy nature. And who knows, like maybe when, one of my sons is 25, he'll decide he wants to take up ultra running and he can do that. He could start then and do it. So I think, I think it's just keeping them, um, excited about whatever they're doing and encouraging them to be active and to move and celebrating that. Like, doesn't matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter what place you get or how you perform, you need to celebrate them for trying and for experimenting with athletics, and always pushing fueling. Like, this is fuel is you need this to perform your best. Doesn't finding your strong no matter what that is, like, it's super important. So, like, just building in those practices of, I think, teaching kids what the purpose of food is. This is going to allow you to do the best you possibly can in an athletic setting. So, let's use it the right way, and let's use it to our advantage, and everything we've learned about it, all of that. And be an
Yeah.
example of it because kids learn from seeing way more than they do from being told.
Yeah. Well, and having you and Graham as parents to model all of that, I hope helps as I hear two teenage boys in the house and two accomplished ultra runners. That's probably a big food budget.
Yeah, well, and as they've gotten older, that yes, there's a lot of food being consumed, a lot of eggs, a lot of a lot of
Yeah. Yeah. And with all the, like, your dad and your uncle being such great examples and the coaching and stuff,
Mhm.
that seems like it would have helped you with every future thing that you went to of being exposed to coaching, whether you're working in tech, you're in the media space, you're running for yourself, you're coaching athletes. Can you share a little bit about that and how that has helped you in those different situations, be able to connect with people, even start the movement to some degree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, I've had and I guess maybe I'll just point out, like, both my mom and my dad have been really amazing people for me in my life. And, my dad was constantly teaching me things, you know, and never really, I kind of sometimes think I was the second son he didn't have because he has one son and one daughter and then me. But I was like his little sidekick, like who would go up in the mountains and go cut firewood with him and hang out with him. But he never treated me like like, I can't do this because I'm a girl. Like, I would go do whatever it was with him. And so I think it started with that. He was always kind of teaching. It didn't matter if it was a physical thing, if it didn't matter if it was like, I spent lots of summers like working, kind of helping with construction projects around the house and like doing things that whatever, kind of hard labor stuff. And so that I think I never felt like I couldn't just do like whatever I wanted to do. But my mom also, she was like, I don't know, my family's kind of Swiss Family Robinson. Like my mom was like, she took her role of being the stay at home mom extremely seriously. She, would can food in the winter, canned peaches so that she could make us homemade baby food, fresh. And she would, she would get, I don't know, she did a lot of like uh, things that showed that she just was like very, very, she really cared about like helping raise us the best she possibly could. And so growing up with both of those examples, and she's very quiet in nature, but she's also like one of the strongest people I have ever known with what she has been through. Her father, my grandpa, who I never met, passed away when he was about 55 years old in her arms, died of a heart attack. You know, going through some of the things that she's gone through, um, and come out of, like, I just, you know, just she's incredibly strong. Um, so I have both of them as examples, and they were high school sweethearts who have now been married for 50 plus years. And, it's an amazing example. So yeah, I really have both of them to thank for just like doing so much for for me.
So lucky to have everybody and just have the great examples and
It
to be able to show other people, your kids get to see that, their friends get to see that. Like powerful. Wow. What does balance look like for you with, or call the family?
is
Is there?
balance. What is that? There's no such thing as that. I mean, I'll say that like owning your own businesses, allows flexibility, but then you can also work 24/7. So you got to kind of just build guardrails in place. And over time, I think I've learned, you know, uh, it's true that there's never, not enough time. It's just how you prioritize your time. So, um, just lots of communication between my husband and I, and really just like time blocking what's important and what we need to get done, and sometimes dividing and conquering as parents, sometimes asking for help and using your support system around you, and then just learning, sometimes you're going to take on more than you can handle, and then you got to just learn from that I can't do all of those, so something gotta go or change or whatever it is. But I don't know, just communication is
Yeah.
way to balance, I guess.
Lots of, yeah. Yeah. And how did your background carry over to getting into the media space of being like, you have a podcast, you have live stream. We met doing live stream. Ha-
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little about that?
Sure. So I think that it really just started, kind of, and this is again sometimes the reason why like it's scary to make a big change in your life, but I think sometimes you then a couple of years later look back and say, well, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had this. I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity. So because I wasn't working, I had time. I had the ability to go travel somewhere. And so when I was asked to do commentary for, I think I think Hard Rock first, may have been Cocodona, like a small, like just little couple hour slot for Cocodona the year of Hard Rock. But then Hard Rock, you know, I think probably because I was on the Aerovibe racing team and I had connections to the race itself. I knew a lot about it, and I knew I was essentially a local to it. When I was asked to do commentary for it, I was like, yes, absolutely. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to do it because I want to talk about this race because I love the San Juans and all of that. And then I just like kind of got thrown into the fire. Like I remember just being like showing up and being like, what do I do here? They're like, all right, just go sit down there and there's a mic and we're going. And I was like, what the heck? I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I was extremely nervous. And I was, totally like I had prepared a bit, but I just didn't know what it was all about or what to expect. And so it was like just trial by fire of like, okay, just do what I can do. And then over time, I think more and more I did it, I learned how to like just kind of be myself on it, but what kind of preparation I would need to do, how these things went. And it's just practice. You just get used to it and you get into it. And then, yeah, I've been able to continue to sign up for stuff and raise my hand and be available. And so I've really grown to enjoy it. And I also think about it as, it's important to have female voices in this space for sure, because other women listening to these live streams need to hear women talking about them and women doing them, and so that they, feel that they're also part of it and welcome there. So I think that's, you know, I love, you know, being able to kind of advocate for that side of it as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
it just kind of evolved, and then I said I like doing it, I want to get better at it. What can I do, and just raise my hand for it. And then the podcast, my friend and I just both nerd out on running all the time. And we're like, I wanted to create something where we could provide evergreen resources of information about races that went kind of beyond the race website. So Ultra Uncovered started that way with like, we want to talk about some of the kind of most, iconic races in the US. And we want to tell you, how, if you're new to the sport, how you should prepare for it, what you should expect when you get there, things to consider, like hear from somebody who's actually done it, front or back of the pack, like, and really just provide resources to people who are looking to get into the race and might be interested in signing up for XYZ, event. So we pick like 7 to 10 races per year, and then we do deep dives on them. And those hopefully continue to just be a resource over time, talking about some of our favorites and some of the coolest races that the sport has to offer.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite race or maybe top 3?
Oh boy, well,
I know for me, favorite's hard, so
it is
broaden it
hard.
out.
I mean, I think my favorite race of all time is not one we've done on Ultra Uncovered, which was CCC in Chamonix. UTMB CCC, the 100K, personally, one of my favorites. And then Uray 50 is probably another one of my favorite personal races. We've not done episodes on those, but the first one we did was Black Canyon because I've been there pretty much every year since I started doing this sport. And then it's just one of the coolest. So Black Canyon, we've done Javelina, Gorge Waterfalls. We did the Pikes Peak Marathon, which is one that doesn't get as much press, but is such a fascinating race. And so, yeah, we've done a lot of them. And I think some of those episodes are really, really fun. Leadville, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed,
Yeah.
that happens this year. And any live stream stuff that you'll be at, like races and events, you'll be
Yeah.
commentating at for this year?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be at Hard Rock and Western both this year. So I'm gonna be commentating the overnight with, Chris Warden at Western States this year. So after Corinne and Dylan get done with their big thing, then then Chris and I will go on the overnight and call I don't know, like 11 PM to right before the golden hour, and then I think Corinne Malcolm comes back for the golden hour itself, but everything in between that, we commentating that, and that's exciting because I get to go watch the race during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even know, have you run it before, or are
No,
you in the lottery with your whole bunch of tickets
I'm
and
in
get
the lottery,
denied?
not with a whole bunch. I think I only have, like, 16, but it's starting to get there. I mean, Javelina, dang, I was 2 spots off a ticket. I don't know, but I'd like to run it one day. We'll keep trying. We'll see. But in the meantime, it's a fascinating race to spectate. And I had the honor of crewing David Roach 2 years ago. That was a really cool experience. And so, yeah, so Western's definitely something special, and then Hard Rock, can't wait for that one again this year. It's gonna be insane.
Saying, yeah, that looks like a really strong lineup and could, I don't even know who you could call. There's lots of people that could win, lots of women that could win, and lots of very strong women in that field.
For sure.
Dang. And will you get a chance to go out and run or do something? I guess it's a little bit far out to know the schedule
Go run where?
when you're at Hard Rock.
Oh, yeah, so we'll spend, because my family still lives in Ouray, we're gonna spend probably 3 weeks down in Ouray over the summer, from right before the 4th through the, Ouray 100, which is the week after Hard Rock. I'm coaching and will pace a friend of mine who's gonna do Ouray 100, and then we will come back, and then I will be doing final prep for UTMB, which is my big race of the year this year.
Okay. And what else is as we're mid May, we're recording this, what else is your personal run calendar this year or adventure calendar?
Yeah, a lot of adventuring. I don't have anything officially booked for racing between now and UTMB because of the commentary stuff and the scheduling. So I'm really focusing on training. I'll probably pace some friends at various races. I'd love to go back and do Silverton Alpine 50K, but it's on the same weekend as you race, so that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of all eyes on UTMB, and maybe jump in a couple local things if the opportunity arises.
There's so many cool things in Colorado. It's weird not being in Colorado in the summer anymore. I'm like, oh man, like this is happening, that's happening. Was it Addie Bracy just won outright Ram Party on the weekend?
Yeah, and
Somebody won it.
we were down there
Oh,
for the Air Viper Racing Team Summit. So she won outright. Lauren Piretz won the 60K outright. So
congratulations.
yeah, it's crazy what's going on, but that was cool to see because Addie was kind of, I think she was living on the Rachel Entrecon energy from Cocodona because she had paced and career. I was like, how are you racing us? But she did amazing. So yeah, and she'll be back at Western. Can't wait. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, you got to luck. And there's just so many cool things happening in so many directions. And oh, what was my other one? And how did your personal coaching, did that happen before the movement? Has that been after the movement in conjunction?
So that started even before I kind of left my corporate position. I started to just take on a couple of clients because I had some friends who were looking for coaching here that knew me locally and were like, "Hey, would you coach me? I'm trying to run my first 100. I'm trying to run a sub 3-hour marathon." And so I started just coaching a handful of people. And then, when I decided to kind of shift career stuff, then I decided I would have the bandwidth to take on a few more people. So then I built it out a bit more. So I have a combination of people locally, and it's awesome. I mean, I coach a 19-year-old from who's at Rochester Institute of Technology, and he is amazing. And I'm like, do you know how lucky you are that you recover so quickly from these things? And he's gotten so fast, and he's PR'd all kinds of stuff. And now he wants to jump into an ultra. He's going to do his first 50 miler this year. He's awesome. And so I have that end of the spectrum. And then I have a couple athletes who are like in their mid to late 50s who are also just kind of exploring ultra running and stuff. And so I actually coached 2 veterinarians. I don't know how that happened. Coached 2 women who are both vets. Coached a woman through her first, pregnancy here recently, which was awesome. She was a collegiate water polo player. So a lot of really interesting backgrounds, and then, I coach a couple here locally, Anthony and Leslie King, who Leslie, when I met her, was like, I've never run more than a half marathon. I don't know. I just want to I love the trails. I just want to mess around, but I'm competitive and I want to do the best that I could possibly can. And she just finished her first 50K last weekend and
Awesome.
totally surprised herself and was really excited about it, and she did amazing. So, and her husband will be running Leadville this year, the 100 as well.
God, wow, Leadville's the place to be, apparently.
Yeah.
What women can movement? I'm a guy.
Yeah.
There's lots of people out there listening to it.
Yeah.
What are some things that someone's like, what is supportive and helpful, not even necessarily just for the Women Can movement, but to help support, empower women to get out there, go and try something without it being weird or creepy or, I don't know, intimidating, off putting? Like, there's so many things I see on social media. So my brain just goes to, I don't know what I might unconsciously be doing to turn someone away, but like, or any other guy that's listening, but like, what are those, the core, like things that would be nervous? And then how can we possibly address them to make it more inviting?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, it's complicated. I think that the first and foremost thing I think of is just being encouraging to to the women that are around you in your life. Being open and accepting to all, like, just saying, like, "It's awesome that you're here," to people at your run club that are women, like, I mean, and by de facto, if you're wearing the shirt, you're automatically saying, like, "Hey, I'm supportive of women." So that's great, but I think yeah, I think just, I'm trying to think, like, what else you can do as a man. I mean, like, cheering at races, high fives, hell yeahs, like, all of that is, if you're saying it and voicing it from a place of authenticity and genuineness, then I think it comes across that way. So, I would just be however naturally yourself, however you are naturally, to just be encouraging, and not just in running, like, you know, saying something if you see somebody doing something cool and they're women, just a woman just saying, like, "That's freaking awesome." Like, just saying that, I think it all helps. But I think the biggest thing you can do is just to be supportive of the women that are around you in your life, in your family, in your friend groups, and continuing to encourage them and letting them know that you're there for them in their pursuits. Like, if they need anything, you can you're somebody they can talk to, you're somebody they can bounce ideas off of or get advice from or whatever, just being a friend.
It helps to have a pickup truck. That's very useful. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. It's a big one. It's been neat to talk to different women in different capacities, whether it's like sitting here at a dinner table or on podcasts. Like, what are those things? What makes you nervous about going to a group run? Okay, how can I then address that, or be as awkward or loud or something?
Mhm.
That might be just the one little thing, but also to have so many cool opportunities with different people, different body types, different ethnicities, different whatevers at those events. And like, this is my friend that's covered in tattoos, and this is my friend that's plus size. Cool. Doesn't everybody have friends like this? And they're like, oh, not everybody has. Oh, oops. But yeah, so just everybody's here for a reason. I think it's great to to support, to cheer for people. And one thing that I've seen a lot of is I try to be at the finish line for like the end, because that can make such a big difference. Or like being at Bumblebee Ranch, totally not photobombing the live stream in this shirt, was totally not doing that. But to be there and see, hey, here's this massive rush with the front runners, but then I'm still there when there's 15 minutes to cut off, or you see people that are very much struggling back at the pack. Hey, it can be those little things like, okay, you're here. What's your drop bag? Give me your bottles. We'll fill your bottles. Take a seat. How can we help you? Like, those things can make a huge difference to getting anyone to the finish line. But also then there's that story that goes to their friends
Yeah.
and everyone else. And that's at least what I think of when I'm standing there trying to manage 17 things at once and not spill Coke on myself.
Totally. No, yeah, no, volunteering is huge, like, and you are in turn celebrating and helping those people achieve whatever they're trying to do, and, like, that goes a really long way, so that's some of the most fulfilling, like, work to do as a runner yourself too, because you know exactly what they're going through. You've been there, and then when you fill their bottle correctly, they're like, "Oh my god, you knew how to do that. Like, you get me. You are one of me," And that's the beautiful thing about trail and ultra running. I mean, I tell this story a lot, but I remember being at the finish line the year that Arlen Glick and Ryan Montgomery went 1-2 in Javelina 100 mile, and you saw 2 completely different demographics of people. Ryan had his then, uh, significant other wearing 6-inch heels in full drag, and you had Arlen Glick in with his crew of his, very religious, I can't remember, I should know this, but I think he's a Latter-day Saints. Anyways, a very different group of people, and they're both there celebrating their runner who have totally different backgrounds and beliefs, and they're just all there for it. And that's the cool thing about this sport. Like you said, your friend that's full tattoos is, talking to the person over here who is from a completely different set of, like upbringing or whatever. But they're talking about running and they both love running. And that's what's cool about it. And so I think, yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about the sport is it really breaks down those walls. And as we're seeing now, it's breaking it down from a gender standpoint too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just really excited to see what happens for like all the future races now with how close the times were. I mean, that's a big time margin that Rachel won Cocodona by. I see it as the women being ahead of that, but then like, cool. So what happens at the next 200 or even at Javelina this year? That gap's going to close a little bit more. And one day will we see whoever the next generation is coming up, like arguably like your boys' age, there's a girl out there somewhere that's going to be probably breaking those records. And
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, and that's the point of the message, I think overall, Women Can is not supposed to be divisive in any way or form or it's not supposed to be because women can like men can't. It's not about, you know, creating any kind of division. It's about uplifting the women that are doing it. Um and anybody can do that, and anybody can be for that. And it's not to say we shouldn't be uplifting the men as well, because I'll tell you what, I love the men's races are some of the most exciting ones out there. And so like I'm personally here for all of them. And so, but I think, yeah, Women Can is just a broader message of kind of positive, I don't know, just positivity.
Yeah. No, and thank you again for starting and sharing all of that because it's been cool to have the shirt to see how it evolves to
Well,
just
thank
to
you for being
watch.
such a big advocate of it. I really appreciate
Oh, hey,
it.
thank you. Thank you. I have this shirt. I got a new tank top. I bought a crop top for a friend. I'm like, yeah, I'll keep buying it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for having it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Anyone else you'd like to shout out or that's been a big support for your personal journey? The Women Can journey. Lives in anybody that we can give a thank you to.
Well, man, just thank you to everybody who has gotten involved in it and everybody that has let me feature them or write about them. I think our 2 writers, Cassandra and Kathy, who are both doing this completely pro bono, volunteering to write on my behalf because they believe in the message. That's amazing. And I'm so grateful for them. And yeah, anyone who has supported it in any capacity, or wants to do so in the future, want you to be as involved as you can. And I'm open to, people. I I have another woman here who wants to maybe run a booth. If I do a booth at a race, she's like, I'll run it. I'll do, and so that you can be on the live stream. So, just people who are kind of raising their hand to get involved. I really am super grateful for them. And then I think, yeah, probably just, my own personal family for supporting me going after it, whether that's my parents or my husband or the kids. They're all they're all part of it and they're all allowing me to do it, and they come up with ideas sometimes. And Stowe says stuff like what my boys will say, like, you should do this or you should do that, and I run designs by them. And so it's a full family thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I just love hearing that. It's so positive and so cool just to to watch it. Thank you so much. How can everyone, I know Women Can Movement is the Instagram, but how else can they get in touch with you or
Yeah.
websites, YouTubes, all that?
Yeah. Feel free to send a DM to me on the Women Can Instagram if you would like to be featured. I'd love to have you. It's a very simple few questions that we put out there, and then I'll create a graphic for you. Our website links are in there. We do have evergreen products on both Pressio and Shopify that are there all the time, and hopefully we'll be adding a few new fun ones here soon. There'll probably be another artist series coming in the next couple of months. And then our Substack is Women Can Movement as well, or it's just Women Can on Substack, I believe. But yeah, feel free to, I think, that it's really cool sometimes just to read, somebody's background and their life story and how other women inspired them or, what they went through and how they got through it. And it's just good to share all of that. And so we have some really amazing stories of, lots of different women. And if you know someone who we should write about or someone who's an artist, please let me know.
I do. I love. We'll chat. Thank you.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone follow Corinne and Women Can. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks again, Greg.